Greetings. It is Ujo Wajet here, and today we're going to be talking about self-sabotage. So let me know if this is something that you have experienced. Let me know how you define self-sabotage. What is your current definition? How do you feel about it? What have been your experiences? Definitely let me know in the comments, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. So I want to get right into it. When it comes to my definition, how I define it, is self-sabotage is a way of undermining yourself, your goals, your aspirations, things that you want to accomplish. Even when it comes to how you see yourself, how you view yourself. So it can also be linked to your identity, right? How you show up for yourself. Self-sabotage is a way of undermining how you show up for yourself. I said that twice, but that's okay. So I want you to think about that for a moment. How often do you downplay your goals? How often do you undermine yourself? And when it comes to this, I feel like this is something that doesn't just show up in certain situations. Self-sabotage is a really sneaky, right? It just kind of creeps in, and sometimes you don't even realize that it's there. So I've already shared with you how I define self-sabotage. Be sure to share how you define self-sabotage and how it shows up for you in your life right now. And now I want you to think about the areas of your life that it tends to show up, that you actually notice. Because the thing about self-sabotage is it's happening, it's best when you don't, it's at its best. Self-sabotage is at its best when you don't even realize that it's happening. And the purpose for this video is really to start shining a light on those hidden aspects of self-sabotage, because it is preventing you from being productive. It's literally stopping you from reaching whatever goals that you want to reach, becoming the person that you want to be. But for whatever reason, you feel like you can't get there. You can't reach that point for whatever reason. So it's not always something, when it comes to some sort of resource, that's holding you back. Sometimes it is your mindset. It is your emotions. It is something that you feel like you cannot step up to the plate. You don't value yourself enough to show up to the plate. Does that make sense? And what I encourage you to do is to start questioning when you feel that doubt, you feel that insecurity, you feel like, oh, I can't do that, or, oh, I'm not good enough for that, or, oh, I just don't have time for that. A way that you can start to work through self-sabotage is to question what that is. What is that thing, that comment, that response that shows up every time there is something that you want to do? You feel it in your heart, you feel it in your spirit, like, yes, this is the thing. And then something in your mind is like, oh, well, no, I can't do that, or, oh, I'll do it later. Because procrastination and self-sabotage are besties, okay? Let me say that again. Procrastination and self-sabotage are besties. They are best friends, right? And when it comes to these two things, you have to look at, and this is something I am not a saint here, okay? I'm speaking from experience, by the way, with everything that I share, right? Either I experienced this or clients that I've worked with experience this. And when it comes to that, greetings. When it comes to questioning what is holding you back, or why you don't have enough time to do the thing, or why all of a sudden you become so tired, or something else becomes so much more important than the thing. Like, just take a moment to pause and question, like, well, what is that? Why does that happen every single time? Every time. So we've talked about the definition of self-sabotage. We've talked about how it can start to show up. And it shows up at its best when it's in the shadows, when it's not noticed, when you don't even realize that it's happening because you think it is something else. You think it's something outside of yourself. It's not always an external thing. And another way that you can, so I mentioned one of the ways that you can start to stop self-sabotage is by questioning when it shows up. And that's when you are aware that it's showing up. But what happens if you're not aware that self-sabotage is the culprit? Then what can you do? So this is what you can do. Start to look at if it's something in regard to something else is in the way, like something outside of yourself, right? Because self-sabotage is all about what's going on within you that's preventing you from doing the thing, that's preventing you from being productive, that's preventing you from reaching your goals. But if you think it's something outside of yourself, let's say that you want to write a book, you want to start a business, you want to create a product, but you don't have the money. Sometimes it's not always about the money. It's about how resourceful you can be for you to acquire that monetary gain. So instead of being like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't have the money. Because now you're just stopping yourself short. Reframe that by saying, well, what can I do? How resourceful can I be? What resources do I have? What resources can I acquire so I can make that happen for myself? Because now you're opening up to more opportunity to be productive, to do the thing. You're not limiting yourself to, oh, I need this one thing. You might need that one thing, but the path to get there can vary. There's a lot of different roads to one destination. So think about that for a moment. Is there anything right now that you are wanting to do, or that even when it comes to how you show up for yourself, that you want to be more productive? Maybe you want to be more consistent. Maybe you want to believe in yourself more. How can you reframe the thing that you feel is getting in the way if it's something that is external? Oh, I can't believe in myself because the people around me are always talking down to me. How can you be resourceful when it comes to shifting the dynamic of that environment or removing yourself from that environment? Is it possible? What are the ways? What are the opportunities there? If you want to be more consistent Instead of thinking, oh, I want to be more consistent, but I'm tired all the time, or I'm always too busy. How can you reframe that? When it comes to being too busy, what exactly are you busy doing? And look at where you're spending your time and your energy. How can you reframe some of that? Are you putting too much on your plate? Because let me tell you how another way that self-sabotage shows up. It also shows up when you are too busy. You're busy all the time. You're doing so much. And it feels like, oh, I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything for everybody. Or maybe you don't have a choice. You have to do all the things because nobody else ain't doing a damn thing. How can that show up as self-sabotage? This is how. If you are doing everything for everybody, you are now in a position to where you're actually starting to enable them. You're enabling the people around you. And this is a way for you to justify not taking care of yourself. Because it's like, well, I gotta do all this stuff for all these other people. I don't have time to take care of myself because I gotta do this. Sometimes having too much responsibility, putting too much on your plate, and not delegating is a form of self-sabotage. And listen, I've done that before. I have done that before. Greetings. Facts, right? I'm telling you. Hello, hello. So, I mean, think about that. Are you being too responsible? Are you carrying too many burdens, too many responsibilities? And are you justifying that to not take care of yourself? Because this is what happens if you allow self-sabotage to get out of control. What happens if something happens to you? Then what? One of the best ways, I had to learn this the hard way. Maybe you have to learn this the hard way too. But one of the best ways to be more productive and to stop self-sabotaging is to start allowing other people to be responsible for their own shit. And sometimes people don't know the people that you support. Maybe it's your family. Maybe you have children that are old enough to carry certain responsibilities. They could be small tasks. These could be things. A small baby step could be, oh, well, why are you always doing the dishes? Why are you always taking out the trash? Oh, because it's easier just for you to do it versus going back and forth between, with your kids or with your siblings or with whoever. It's like, no. Now yes, it's easier to just do it yourself because you don't have to deal with it. But sometimes you have to teach people how to be responsible, especially if you have been the one that you've always done it. You have to recognize, like, okay, I've been using all these things and just doing everything as a form of just feeling like I have to do all these things because that's the only way it gets done. But of course, you're sabotaging yourself because you're not doing anything for yourself, or barely anything. Because guess what? The way that you can be the better version of you and the better parent, the better spouse, the better coworker, the better version of you is to invest in yourself, in time in yourself, and doing things for you. That doesn't make you, like, taking time to do things to be productive for yourself makes you better in every aspect of your life. And again, I'm speaking from experience. I've learned this the hard way. Greetings. So I needed this message. That's why I'm telling you, Virgos, for real. Constant Virgo struggle. Yes, I tell my husband how to do dinner. Yes, it's created a huge shift. That is, I'm telling you, it's a huge thing. And yes, it can be challenging in the beginning, because here's the thing: if you have been enabling this situation by doing everything because you felt you have to, or because you're using that as a way to justify not doing anything for yourself. And sometimes, and again, sometimes you don't even realize it's happening. And then it just becomes the normal thing. Then now you have to first realize, like, okay, I'm enabling some of this. I'm creating some of this. And let me recognize my missteps, or the areas that I can improve, that I can shift. And now let me show you how to do this thing. Let me show you, let me teach you to do it the right way, especially if you got kids. Yep, too many dependents. If you have so many people depending on you, then now they are being conditioned to only depend on you. Had to do that with my children. I was the main one cooking and cleaning, but they are teens now, and I had to delegate to give time for myself. Absolutely, absolutely. I see this happen in the family dynamic. If you have kids, I see this happen with coworkers. I've been in situations at work where I'm just like, why is everybody telling me yeah, I'm the, I'm the one that people can depend on at work. Like, oh, can you do this? Oh, can you do that? Like, why can't they do it? They ain't doing nothing. They don't do nothing. You have to say no sometimes. But also there is a learning curve when it comes to shifting out of self-sabotage, and when it comes to growing into productivity. And that's the thing too. It's not easy, because sometimes, right, sabotaging yourself affects other people, because now they don't get to do anything. They can sit back and just like, oh, well, you're going to carry all this weight. You're going to do all this stuff anyway. So now I don't know anything else, or this is easier. Then where's the value for them? But it's the learning curve. There is a learning curve there, to take the time to let other people understand, like, this is the way that it has been, but now this needs to change. So it's important to have that conversation, whether it's a conversation that you need to have with the people around you, the people in your family, the people at work, your friends, whatever the dynamic is. If there's an aspect of, if that element is there where where self-sabotage is showing up as a form of you carrying all the responsibility, you just doing everything for everybody all the time, because it's just become a point where it's just easier and you don't want to have to hear nobody's mouth or deal with it. It's like, no, if that's part of your dynamic right now, then it's time to shift out of that. You can do that by having this conversation with your family, with your coworkers, with whoever you need to have the conversation with. This also shows up with having this conversation with yourself first, and recognizing, like, okay, maybe I'm doing too much of the wrong thing. How can I change that? How can I do things that align me more to the direction that I want to take my life, or align me more to being the person that I truly want to be, to living the life that I truly want to live? Because one thing I always say is, being busy does not mean you're being productive. And with that, you can't always, so you have to look at yourself first. as well when it comes to these aspects of doing too much, or just always feeling like you're busy all the time, and just everything is always happening. It's like, when is the last time you just took a breath, took a pause, and really just reflected on that? You have to start asking yourself these questions. In what ways are you carrying too much responsibility for others? And in what way are you doing too much of the wrong thing for yourself? Busy work versus productive work. Where do you actually want, like, what exactly do you want to achieve? And I feel like this, it's so easy to get kind of caught up in this loop, in this cycle, because sometimes you're just in survival mode. And considering everything that's been going on for the past, all the things that have been going on for the past, for over a year now, which is crazy. I can understand. I can understand. But I honestly feel like, and I've learned, right, which is part of the inspiration for this video, is that sometimes the best way that you can be productive and to stop self-sabotage is to just stop everything for a moment. To literally just don't do anything. Stop everything. And just look at the functionality of your life and of the people in your life. Look at the functionality of how your mind, your body, and your spirit are working. Like, just stop everything. Just be like, you know what? I'm out. Just as a matter of fact, I even did the podcast. The latest podcast episode that I did is titled "Pause for Effect," because it gets you to that point of just to start thinking. It's a mini episode that really allows you to reflect. So if you want to check that out, you could hit up my podcast, Fit Body, Fit Spirit. And you can also, it's on all podcasting platforms, Google, Spotify, Apple. You can also head over to the Instagram page, Fit Body, Fit Spirit. And the link to that podcast and all of my podcast episodes are in the bio of that Instagram page. But yeah. Greetings. Thank you for stopping by, Renee. Yes. Mercury retrograde is coming up. Great time to be still. I'm feeling the pre-shadow already. Yes, I'm telling you, now is the time to reflect. Just stop, because when you stop, when you take a moment to just stop and just like, let me just look at my life from a different perspective. Don't just stop, but stop and step back for a moment, because you have to get that different perspective, because it's different when you're in it. When you are just in the pile of shit, it's different, because you're just trying to just figure out how to get out of it. And you're just constantly, and that's where the busy stuff comes in. And that's where I'm just, I don't have time to do these things for myself. I'm just trying to get out of this. I'm just trying to get out. I'm trying to get out. And as I mentioned, for those of you, if you missed the beginning part of this video, I mentioned when it comes to self-sabotage, how I define it is it's a form of undermining yourself or your beliefs or your goals or the things that you're wanting to do. Self-sabotage is a way of undermining that or devaluing that. So that is how I define self-sabotage. Let me know how you define it or if that resonates with you. Because I am a firm believer of we all have our own definitions of things, and it's important to honor that. And how I define self-sabotage, it might be a little bit different for you, which is perfectly fine. But it's all about just being really clear on how that shows up in your life, and then allowing yourself to stop and step back. Because having the perspective, and I mentioned, and I really want to emphasize this again, sometimes the most productive you can be is literally by stopping. And it can feel very wrong, because there's a difference with, oh, I want to start this business, but you keep procrastinating with the business, versus intentionally stopping. You have to be intentional about it. You can't use it as a form. This is not about escapism. You want to be intentional about, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. I'm stopping. And I'm going to step back, and I'm going to look at my life in a different way. Or I'm going to look at these, who are these people in my life? Who are you? Have you ever done that? There is a phone ringing over there. Okay. Have you ever done that? Have you ever just looked around like, who are you? Why are you here? Sometimes it's me looking in the mirror like, who are you? Why are you here? Or these people in my life, like, what is happening? Feeling it too. Been taking time to step away the last 2 months. Yes. It could be, it can feel like it really can be unproductive when you are really being intentional about stepping back. Yep, sinking in shit, trying to find the way out. Real talk. Yes, absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Like, and I'm right there with you, just trying to find the way out. So sometimes you just have to literally be intentional, be clear, and step out of it for a moment. Step out of it with, like, so what's your present situation? You might be in the situation, but you can step back mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Problems are going to be problems. They're going to be there. Okay. But when you're intentional about how you respond to those problems, how you react to them, and how you allow them to just, like, because it could be heavy. So it's really important and this is why I'm always talking about my mission. My mission is to align the mind, the body, and spirit, to help people align their mind, their body, and spirit through health, through wellness, and through spiritual practice. This is about connecting and realizing that you can get to a point of getting that clarity. So tuning in these different aspects, so you can see the different opportunities and ways that you can stop self-sabotaging, and ways that you can be more productive, and ways that you can start to show up and live your life in a different way. I feel like I have no choice now but to do everything on my own. It's draining. Yes. And I've experienced that. Right. So, and if you feel like you have, if you feel like you don't have a choice. So one of the things I mentioned earlier is a way that you can reframe that, like, oh, I'm feeling stuck here. Well, in what ways? First, look at, if this is the only choice I have, what are the opportunities within this? What do I get to learn in this? Is there a lesson in this for me? Because sometimes this shows up because the people around you ain't shit, and it's time for you to change your circle. Sometimes it's time for you to demote people. It's time for you to change because your vibration is changing, and the people around you are no longer fitting your vibration, and it's time to sometimes you got to demote people. Sometimes it's expanding your circle and being around people and connecting with people, whether it's virtually, in person, wherever, that are on that same frequency. And just even the thought of it, the possibility of it. It's like, right now I don't have a choice. If you feel like you don't have a choice right now, what choices do I have right now? That's a way you can reframe it so you're not feeling stuck. What choices do I have right now? And what does this experience, what is this showing me about myself or about the people around me? Self-sabotage, I feel, is mostly autopilot and done unconsciously. Yes, and this is something I mentioned earlier, that self-sabotage can show up unconsciously, and that's when self-sabotage is at its best, is when you don't realize it's happening. And it can feel very external. It seems like all these things are happening to you versus you doing it to yourself. And things that I shared were how you can start to question those things as they show up. Question the external barriers or blockages. "2020 did that for me. A lot of people, true colors came out, which led to introspection." Yes, I'm telling you. Ooh, 2020 did a whole number on everybody, child. There were situations in my life where I just had to stop, but then people around me noticed and would try to put the blame on me because they grew accustomed to me doing the majority of the work. Yes, yes. One more time for the people in the back, okay? Sometimes you just have to stop. And people will notice. People start saying something when the things that you do to benefit them change. People will start to say something like, "Oh, you different. Oh, you ain't acting the same. Oh, you acting stuck up. Oh, you acting rude. Oh, you like, oh, you don't want to spend no time with me no more." It's like, oh, it's great when it's benefiting you. That's interesting. Because the people, I'm telling you, it's a real thing. Then you start to realize, like, man, is this relationship, is this dynamic, is there reciprocity there? Is it equal? Are we both benefiting? Yellow mustard, everything. Thank you. I'm telling you, listen, this has been one of my official colors now. I was like, you know what? This is it right here. So thank you so much. Yeah, the people around me are shit, unfortunately. A lesson for me on what I need to do to protect myself. Yes. So sometimes these things show up so you can start to move out of it. The opportunity is to shift, to expand, to grow out of that situation, those people. But now you have to look at, well, what is the opportunity? That's why it's important to take the moment to stop, to step back, and to really look at the pieces. Look at how it shows up for you. And it's really, this is something where it's not always like a one-time thing, like, oh, I self-sabotage that one time and then it doesn't happen again. No, it takes constant work. This is why just self-reflection is so important, and being able to tune in to yourself and listen to what your body's telling you, what your spirit is telling you, what your heart is telling you. Because I mentioned self-sabotage and procrastination, they are best friends. And oftentimes, if you don't realize self-sabotage is happening, and it shows up in other ways. It shows up through procrastinating. It shows up through taking on too much responsibility and using that to justify not doing the things that you need to do for yourself. It shows up by giving way too much of your time to other people that don't give you barely anything, and there's no even exchange. And what does that hold you back from? It holds you back from being productive in other areas of your life. So I encourage you to stop. Literally stop everything. But be intentional about it. And allow yourself to really reflect, whether it's through journaling, whether it's through sometimes just going, one of the things I used to do, and I need to do this, is go to the lake. I would go to the lake. I used to do this all the time when I was younger. I would go to the lake and just sit there and just look at the water, and it just gave me clarity. So I want you to think about, and let me know in the comments, what is something that just allows you to step outside of yourself and just give you a clearer mind? Is it going for a drive? Is it going for a walk? Is it meditating? Is it just listening to certain kinds of music? Listen to maybe some instrumental music. Is it going to the lake? Is it like, what is it? I encourage you to do that at some point within the next week, if possible. Take the moment to be intentional and stop and just be like, okay, let me just clear my mind for a moment and tune into what I need most right now. Like, allow yourself to do that. Give yourself that. And once you're at that point, now you can be receptive to what spirit is showing, how spirit communicates with you, what's showing up in your heart space. Now you're open to receiving it. Why? Because you're not dealing with all of the pressure, the whatever's weighing you down from all the stuff that you're dealing with. It allows you to look at your life from a different perspective, which is really going to be important in order for you to recognize how sabotage is starting to show up, how it shows up through these different layers of things. And then think about, what is the end goal here? What are you aiming for? Where do you want to see yourself in the next 3 months? Like, where do you want to be? I'm looking at the calendar right now. It is mid-January. Where do you want to be by the spring? Like, if you get clear on what you're moving towards, then it makes it that much easier to reverse engineer that process. Is driving and listening to music. For almost a week, when I would drive and listen to jazz. Ooh, yes, I love that. I'm telling you, invest in yourself and allow yourself to just drive and listen to music. Maybe you have a certain friend or a group of people where it's just like, every time y'all around each other, it's just like, man, I get so clear. Like, man, I always like, this is good energy. Traveling, which that's a whole another conversation about traveling right now, but that was one of mine. So now I'm just have to travel to the lake or something, or go for a walk or something. But I love the driving and listening to music and listening to the jazz, right? So allow yourself that. So let me know if you have any questions. Let me know how you're feeling about this discussion today and what was talked about. If you are just tuning in, today I was talking about self-sabotage, how to stop it and be more productive. And I shared what self-sabotage is, or at least my definition of it, and how it can show up, and how oftentimes Self-sabotage is not something you can outright recognize, but it shows up in different ways. And I explain and I share some examples of how that can show up in your life and what to start doing about it. So let me know if you have any questions. Let me know how you're feeling. What is your main takeaway from this video today? And let me know if you're watching the replay, be sure to post #replay. And I will share again, one of the things I mentioned is my podcast, Fit Body, Fit Spirit. If you're at a point where you do want to take a pause, you want to listen to something that's going to get you in that mindset, check out episode 27, Pause for Effect. And it's a mini episode that I did, and that can give you help you get to that state of clarity. And you can also connect with me on Instagram at Fit Body, Fit Spirit. And if you want to connect with me on my website, you can do so at ujowajet.com. And if you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is also Ujo Wajet, as well as my Facebook page. And head on over to my free community group, which is the Fit Body, Fit Spirit community. It's a free Facebook group. And you can find the link on my website or in the bio of the Fit Body, Fit Spirit Instagram page. So it has been a pleasure. Let me know. Let me just check. I'll hang out here for a few more moments to see if you have any questions. And yeah, what's today? Oh, guess what? It's 11:11. That's what I'm talking about. As soon as I looked at the time, it's 11:11. So that is a perfect way to end this video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments in the replay. I will see you all on the next one.